Hey, well, welcome to our VCE, which is our virtual career exploration program. I'm Gabriel, and this is our other host.
I'm Davion. The, I am a business owner and author, and you cousin president of Light.
And we really pleased to introduce our guest, Symone Barnes. She's a very accomplished published author, and we'd love to, if you would introduce yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Symone Barnes. I am 21 years old and I'm in college as well as I am a published author. A year ago, I published my poetry book. It's called Crown Me, and it's about empowering yourself. It's about embodying confidence, self-respect, and just knowing that you are aware and unique and crowning yourself for who you are.
Yeah. Thank you. Could you share a little bit about your background and what it was like growing up?
Yeah, so I graduated from West Aurora High School. So like I've lived in the Naperville, Chicagoland area, graduated from West Aurora High School, and I feel like all throughout my education, I've always known that I wanted to be a writer. So at literally kindergarten, when we would have those projects, I knew that I was gonna either be a journalist or the next Alicia Keys. That's exactly what I wrote on my piece of paper for that project. And as I look back on it, my little time capsule that I actually just opened the other day, one of my things was, I'm gonna write my own book. And so I've known that that was something that I've always wanted to do. So I feel like at a young age, something that inspired me to be like a writer is that I've always been such a person who's had a strong intellect and who's always been very intuitive with my emotions, physically, vocally, as well as like intuitively. So that's actually what's made me so like geared towards writing. So when I went to high school, I knew that I would just be starting to look for my search to go to schools that kind of benefited my degree in journalism. And so fast forward to like the pandemic, when it was like everyone had to be quarantined. That was like, I want to say for some, it was like the hardest experience. But for me, it gave me so much time to just focus on what I actually wanted to do without making excuses for not having the time to do it. And one of the things I wanted to do was publish my book. So that gave me so much time to look at the different platforms that I could publish it on, who to reach out to, because I already had the content. I've been writing poetry since I was in like first grade. So I just kind of like took a collection of my poems, revised those, and created like Crown Me. And like all of my poetry, even though they're all so different, the initial like theme and purpose all had one message, and that was to crown yourself, to feel confident through whatever experience or situation like you have undergone in your life. So that's kind of like my journey. I feel like writing has always been like for me, like God has literally anointed me with knowing that I'm meant to be a writer. I think the different thing is how I wanted to navigate with using that skill of mine. So I wanted to be a journalist. I'm getting my degree in journalism because I want to be a columnist as well as like write my own books. And I actually might want to get a degree a minor in publishing, just because the idea of like after my writing career, the idea of just reading books and deciding which ones are put on the market is actually really soothing to think about as like an ending of your career kind of thing. But for right now, like I enjoy like going around doing book signings, especially like going on indie book tours, which I started doing a lot of this summer, like all over in different states, which is so cool. It's so exotic. It's just such a different experience. You meet so many people and you get the opportunity to communicate with like different walks of life, and then you get time to like think of like new opportunities to have with different people and different organizations. So it's actually really cool. So it's been like a cool journey. Long
Yeah.
but cool so far.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been a really neat journey because I think
Yeah.
like always knowing like what you wanted to do, I think is really cool. Could you share a little bit more about like a point where you just maybe one of the points where you just like this is what I want, or was it just a process?
I feel like I've just always been so strong-minded, and like when I've always spoke something, I've always stuck to that. Like it's very rare that I have moments of being indecisive. Like any area of my life, I'm just not indecisive. I know what I want when I want it, and I'm like, I'm gonna get it. It might not be the fastest as I want, but I know eventually it's gonna happen. And that's what happened for writing. I feel like literally at a young age in kindergarten, I was like, I'm gonna be a writer and I'm gonna write my own book. I don't know when that's going to be, but I know that I'm going to get to it. But I think that's helped me mentally and physically start aligning myself in different outside activities, different things in school that I was presented, to start allowing myself to have speaking roles, because I knew that I wanted to be a speaker when I go on book readings or book tours, or I start taking additional writing classes to help me just work my creative skills a little bit more. And I think all of those things kind of like came into play because I knew what I wanted. So that just makes sure like whatever you want to do, just make sure that you start aligning yourself up with involving in things, surrounding yourself with people that can help you get to that eventually, just because it does help you stay on track, and it does make you realize how much you want it. And it is kind of there as like a motivational thing to say, like, reminder, like, hey, like this is something you want to do, so the work is worth putting in.
Yeah, that's I think it's always important when we have that end goal and
Yeah.
we see kind of the process and the roadmap for that. It's I know there's always people like along the way who really help us out when we are on that journey. Is there anyone like special in your life who's really helped mentor you and helped you with that journey?
Yeah. So, I'm very like religious. So first come, first serve. It's always going to be God for me. But other than that, I feel like it's definitely been my mom and my nana and my great grandmother before she passed away. Like I've only been around like strong women. That's my foundation. And I feel like they have helped me blossom so much, and they've always like supported me. Like my mom, she's like my biggest cheerleader. Like if I go to her and say I want to be superwoman, she's going to be like, I need to find you a cape. Like that's how she never looks at me and say you cannot do something. If I tell her I want to do anything, she's going to make sure I do it. And so I've just been so blessed with a strong foundation, with a strong like unit as far as like those three people in my life to support me and be behind me. And that's another thing. It's so important to know the resources that you have in your life, even people who feel like they don't have resources. Sometimes your family's not your resource. Sometimes it's your friends. Sometimes it's like a trusted adult in the local groups that you guys participate in, or sometimes it's a teacher, sometimes it's some type of mentor, until you can realize that initially you are your own resource. I feel like that's something that I've learned so much, is that at the end of the day, sometimes you feel like you have no one around you, but you're you for a reason. And that's because like you're your resource, like you're so much talented, like everybody is like individually so creative, and we all have like something to give to this world. So it's just so important for you to figure out what you have to give.
That's amazing. I think someone said it so well that the best people out there are the ones that are the creators, and they create stuff. The architect of the world, and that seems like what you're doing. You're creating so much in the community, and again with all your poetry. I mean, I've personally been able to see it, read it, and it's been amazing to see how many people just how it inspires people, and that opportunity to change the community.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like that's like the initial reward. Like me wanting to write when I was like during quarantine, I was trying to think like, okay, what do I actually want to do? And I feel like during quarantine, like although I was like deciding to like pursue a dream that I've always had, I still was in a process where I was soul searching. So in the midst of me like soul searching, reaching my self-efficiency and making sure that I'm reaching my highest self, I was like, well, I want to make other people feel like this. And I feel like my main thing that I always believe, like one of my mantras is like, I empower myself to empower other people. And I feel like that's just what the world is lacking. I feel like sometimes we could be so selfish, so like absorbed or too self-efficient. And we forget that sometimes we're meant to like help other people and pass other things along once we figured that out for ourselves. So in that time when I was empowering myself and I was crowning myself mentally, physically, emotionally, all that stuff, I wanted to make sure that anybody else could have this same feeling. Like anybody else could know that they're just as important, just as royal, just as powerful. And that's like why I'm so passionate about Crown Me. And I'm taking my time with advertising this project because I've just put so much thought into how I want to empower my community and like young adults, starting with young adults, of course, and then like reaching older adults, because it's never too late to crown yourself. Even older adults have like self-esteem and just so much imbalance in their life. So I think everybody deserves to be crowned, no matter what age, no matter what gender, no matter what race, ethnicity, just everyone deserves to be crowned.
Absolutely.